Hi, I'm Norm Stockton. Welcome to my home studio here in Orange County, California. I am here with the Gallien-Krueger 400RB. And while it's the little brother in GK's powerhouse RB series of analog bass amplifiers, this has the same voicing and tone shaping features as the other RB heads, minus the biamp capability. But it's a 2-rack space unit, designed and manufactured in the US. It has 280 watts into a 4-ohm load. And one of the things that I love about the RB series is that these are extremely high current capacity heads. And what that results in is it's got the reserves and it's got the power handling to be able to handle transients really well. And it results in a super punchy, extremely responsive amplifier. I love these things. Let me kind of quickly walk us through, as I typically do, the front and rear panels. In this case, mostly it's on the front panel. And in addition, I always like to remind people to, if possible, plug in headphones or some speakers so that you can really hear what's happening with the low end. iPhone speakers don't handle low end very well, do they? Anyway, so here we go. On the front panel, you've got the balanced DI and ground lift and pre and post EQ. You have your input jack and your input attenuator, tuning mute, volume knob. And then these 3 controls here actually are all tone shaping and do some pretty cool things. 4- and 5-string bass selector, contour, and presence. And then you have GK's great sounding 4-band active EQ. Then there's the boost, which is GK's proprietary growl. We'll talk about that in a second. You have your volume knob, your master volume that is. And then you have patch bay. So you have your effects center return and your tuner out, which works in conjunction with the tuning mute there. And then you have your power button. And then that power protect LED also helps kind of give you the story in terms of when your amp is ready to go and if there's an issue. And on the rear panel, pretty straightforward, you just got your 1/4-inch speaker outputs. Okay, so why don't we go ahead and kind of walk through the features here. So starting here on the left side of the panel, you've got your great sounding GK DI, and a lot of onboard DIs on amps, front of house people are reluctant to use them because a lot of them don't sound good. This one sounds great. Very quiet, and I've never had any complaints and have used them a lot in a live situation, or tracking even. And then you've got the ground lift and pre and post EQ. That pre and post EQ thing is super helpful because sometimes you may do something in terms of the acoustics of the venue to make the amp sound right for you where you're standing on stage, but that may not be ideal for the front of house person. So you can send them a flat signal if you want to, okay? Input jack, which is helpful sometimes in terms of tone. And then you have your input attenuator. There's a 14 dB pad. In this case, I do have it selected because of the fact that I was doing some slapping up front, and this bass has some decent output. So there's a yellow indicator that will show when it's clipping. If you're playing a passive bass or playing something that doesn't have a lot of transients, then you probably won't ever need to activate that, okay? You also have your tuning mute, which with that LED is awesome. Idiot-proof situation when you're using that live, it's like there's no question that it's activated. And that works in conjunction with that tuning jack. So basically, you can leave a tuner plugged in there, and when you select this, then you can tune between songs and not have the entire audience participating in that endeavor with you. All right? So in terms of the voicing filters, you've got your 4- and 5-string bass selector, you have your contour, and you have your presence. Now, this 4- and 5-string bass selector essentially affects frequencies down around 20 hertz, okay? Which I actually almost always play 5 strings, but I don't use that selector very often because I kind of like how the amp sounds in the 4-string mode. But again, that's the cool thing about tone shaping, is that it's something that's subjective and it's kind of up to your own personal preferences as well as the dictates of the music that you're playing. But you can kind of hear what's going on here. Low B. Definitely gives it some girth, right? But so I'll leave that unselected for right now. In terms of the contour, this is a common feature on GK amps. Really, really cool stuff. It basically, when it's all the way counterclockwise, it's flat. And what it does is the more you turn it up, it progressively introduces a smiley face EQ is kind of the common term for it. So right around 500 hertz, it'll start dipping and then bumping the lows and the highs. So check it out. Okay, so pretty cool stuff if you want to do something where it's really kind of in your face. I'm going to leave it flat for right now because I want you to be able to hear the amp as flat as possible. Okay, presence is up around 10K and it gives that sparkle on top, so check it out. Which is really more noticeable when you're doing, you know. Or okay, again, personal preferences. I'm going to leave that off for right now. And then you have GK's awesome 4-band active EQ. And it goes all the way back to the 800 RB. Sounded great then, it still sounds great now. These are all flat right now, but if you, with your highs, high mids, actually, depending on what I'm doing, if I'm doing some of my fusion stuff, I might actually roll those off a little bit. That's kind of a typical setting that I use. But in this case here, I'm going to go ahead and leave it flat for now. Low mids. Really thins it out if you roll it off. Right? And then your lows. And I'm going to, again, be very careful with this so I don't blow up my recording situation here. And you can really thin it out for your banjo lines. You can definitely get down there. All right, then you have your boost. And this boost is essentially like GK's proprietary growl. And the higher you turn it up, the more of that effect you get. By the way, when you bring this up, it tends to give it a little bit more volume, so you can compensate for that if you want with the master volume knob here. So let's listen to this real quick. Hear how it just kind of makes it more tame? I tend to run mine right about there. Very, very cool stuff. You have your patch bay here, so you've got your effects send and return, as well as your tuner out, which again works in conjunction with that tuning mute there, so you can tune between songs without it coming out of the outputs. Then you have your power button, and then your power protect LED, which when you first turn on the amp, it'll be red for about 5 seconds, and then it turns blue. And as long as it's blue, then you're good to go. By the way, the amp has a great fan that'll kind of keep things cool, but if it ever overheats or there's bad power in the venue or some sort of a problem, then it'll be red and you'll know that there's something up, okay? On the rear panel, you have your 1/4-inch speaker output, so you can plug in your speaker cabinets and get your 280 watts into a 4-ohm load. But legendary GK tone, punch for days, and just really, really cool features. All that, plus it's built like a tank. These are definitely roadworthy amps that can stand up to constant gigging. This is the Gallien-Krueger 400 RB head. And I always like to encourage people not to just take my word for it, but go to a GK dealer and check it out for yourself. I think you'll agree. But otherwise, you can also go to Gallien.com for further information. But thanks for hanging out with me today. I hope you'll check out the 400 RB from Gallien-Krueger. God bless you. I hope to see you on the road.